Oh, Abelard. You messed with the wrong guy, Abelard! You messed with the wrong guy this time, buddy! Yeah, pal! Yeah!
No!
Yeah! Yes!
Yep, that's me. Probably wondering how I got here. Let me bring you back to 1079.
Peter Abelard was born in 1079 in La Palais, a town in western France, to a minor noble French family. Rather than entering a military career like his father, he decided to pursue a career in academics. Receiving a preliminary education in the classics, Abelard would then leave his family to wander France in order to follow the well-known philosophers of the time. These philosophers included Roscelin, the founder of nominalism, the idea that universals have no independent existence, they only exist in names, and William of Champeaux, a prominent realist. Abelard served as a lecturer in Paris, in close company with Champeaux. Champeaux and Abelard wound up fiercely debating the topic of universals, which greatly stressed Abelard's health, causing him to return to western France. Abelard would return to Paris to debate Champeaux once again, and alleged to defeating Champeaux in debate. Around 1113, he decided to turn his philosophical intrigue towards theology, and become a pupil to Anselm of Lyon, not to be confused with Anselm of Canterbury. He disliked Anselm's traditional methods, and returned to Paris to never study with anyone ever again. At the peak of his life, Abelard became master at Notre Dame, a position of scholarship. His teachings became increasingly famous, drawing thousands and thousands of students from throughout Europe. He regarded himself as the only undefeated philosopher in the world, but a change of fortune was at hand when he encountered romance with a student.
This student was Eloise, a bright young student at Notre Dame who lived with her uncle and guardian Fulbert, a priest. Abelard convinced Fulbert to allow him to live with him and Eloise, as he could not afford housing as a student, and in return would tutor Eloise. An affair began between Abelard and Eloise shortly after. Fulbert became aware of this affair and separated the two lovers. Eloise and Abelard then met in secret until Eloise became pregnant. Eloise gave birth to their son Astrolabe, who she named after a scientific instrument, and reluctantly agreed to marry Abelard in secret. Fulbert disclosed their marriage publicly in an attempt to negatively affect Abelard's reputation, and in response, Abelard sent Eloise to a nunnery to protect her from her uncle. Fulbert believed Abelard sent Eloise away to get rid of her, so he arranged for a group of men to ambush Abelard and castrate him. Regardless, the two would correspond for the remainder of their lives. I love you, adorable Eloise. Till now I thought philosophy made us masters of all our passions, and that it was a refuge from the storms in which weak mortals are tossed and shipwrecked. But you have destroyed my security and broken this philosophic courage.
Abelard then became a monk at the Saint Denis monastery, and after a period of recovery, he once again tried to become a teacher, lecturing on theology and the nature of the Christian Trinity. His works were often controversial and were condemned as heretical by two prominent students of Anselm of Lyon, and he was forced to make a public and embarrassing avowal of his faith and burn the text of the Theologia. Abelard thereafter became a hermit in a remote area of France in order to be alone with his thoughts. This seclusion was short-lived, however. Students discovered Abelard's location and soon camped out around his reed hut demanding to be taught.
Abelard? No. Abelard! 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 Hey, it's Abelard!
What do you want, I'm saying?
Come on, Abelard, teach me something, man. Come on. I came all the way out here. Come on, teach me, Abelard. I want to know about nominalism.
Alright.
Alright, yeah, sweet.
Abelard, along with his students, constructed an oratory known as the Paraclete, where Abelard would teach until 1126, when he became abbot of the monastery of St. Gildas de Ruys. Abelard returned to Paris in the 1130s to teach. His theological writings were noticed by St. Bernard of Clairvaux, who strongly disagreed with their content. Abelard then called for a public debate. St. Bernard initially refused, but then secretly arranged to convene a commission to review Abelard's work on suspicion of heresy, and later arrest Abelard. Abelard discovered this plot, and began to travel to Rome to petition the papacy. Before he managed to leave France, however, the council was adjourned. A letter from the Pope ordering Abelard's excommunication, the burning of his works, and confinement to a monastery had arrived, but shortly thereafter, Abelard's sentence was lifted at the request of Peter the Venerable, the abbot of Cluny. Abelard, in ailing health, then died on April 21st in 1142.
Abelard made important contributions to many philosophical subjects, including metaphysics, logic, ethics, and the philosophy of religion. His most important work historically concerns his criticism of the theory of universals. Abelard contributed heavily to the field of nominalism and is regarded as the first to formally discuss it. Like his former teacher Rosalind, Abelard treats universals as nothing more than words, or noumena. He entirely rejects the realist claim that universals exist in the physical realm, contrary to philosophers like Boethius. This belief, often referred to as conceptualism, would form the philosophical basis for his metaphysical works.
Abelard was frequently regarded by others, and himself, as one of the most prominent logicians since ancient times. He developed his own system of propositional logic and spent much time studying topical logic, more specifically entailment, which describes logical inference. Though his system of inference turned out to be inherently flawed, it would prove to be of historical significance. In his writings on ethics, Abelard focused on the role of intent in his discussion of the morality of humans. That is to say, the intent of an actor determines the morality of their actions, rather than the consequences of said actions. Though Abelard was accused of heresy by the Catholic Church on multiple occasions, his works in theology had a significant and lasting impact on church doctrine, particularly in the following 12th and 13th centuries, and on his contemporaries. In effect, Abelard's works served to formalize and solidify the role of philosophy in the ecclesiastical context. On a tangential note, Abelard helped to popularize the belief that infants are sent to limbo upon death rather than hell.
Abelard lived at an important point in medieval European history. During his lifetime, the First Crusade was launched, as the Catholic Church sought to expand and solidify its power. He was born into a philosophical tradition that valorized Plato and his ideas of the forms, which Abelard ultimately would come to reject.
Through his wide-ranging and innovative works, along with his famous love affair with Heloise, Abelard continues to be remembered as one of the most essential philosophical figures of the medieval era.